So what's the scene like down in Texas?
Well, right now,
I mean, other than the virus and all that going on, but
yeah,
The city of Fort Worth.
is subject to change.
Well, yeah, it is.
Um,
Well, they put out an ordinance now. They're
no gatherings larger than 250
yeah,
people.
no gathering larger than
Ideally, no more than two.
no, that's actually, yeah. They're saying 500 is the outside most, but then a lot of tours are canceling. People are a little bit spooked. So some of the local clubs are. I mean, I don't think they canceled any shows that I know of in
They're gonna
in
have
the
a hard
clubs.
time though.
But it's going to be a struggle in the in the immediate future anyway.
right.
After that, I'm sure it'll bounce back, assuming they can all keep the doors open. But
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
But
people are going to be really eager to do some stuff. I think once this all blows over, people are really going to want to go out and see
hope so.
something.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
alcohol kills the virus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like a good ad campaign.
Right. Yeah, exactly. They could probably do that with like any brand too, except for
Yeah.
Corona.
Yeah, I was gonna. Corona sales I think are up.
Are they really? Um,
I mean, we're talking about it. There's
Well,
no,
may-
there's
maybe
no
a-
bad press.
maybe a band name change would be
Bad Corona.
bad.
Yeah,
Corona.
sort of a My Sharona
Right. Yeah.
thing. We could do that as a song.
Yeah, you have to do that as a cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the scene overall is good in Dallas, Dallas and Fort Worth, which are, everybody says Dallas, Fort Worth. They're really about an hour away from each other. But there's a lot of clubs. There's a lot of local music. And then when you can even go up into Oklahoma and down into South Texas, down Austin, of course, is a huge music scene. So
Yep.
I will say though, people do tend to seem surprised when they hear our music sometimes, where they're like, they'll literally come to us and be like, "Wow, we don't get to hear a band like that very much." 'Cause
Yeah.
I don't think we're the only people doing classic rock and DFW, but it's not the more common thing to hear.
Yeah.
When I spun the album the first time, I was like, wow, this is just like it's just good rock and roll.
Yeah.
That's what we get a lot from the people that our music really connects with. They say like, this is just rock and roll. This is just hard rock. I don't like, you hear stuff that's really good,
yeah.
and you hear stuff that touches on that. Or
Often
uses
it's like,
elements,
this
but-
band is hard rock, but like
Mhm.
there's a twist, but there's no real twist with us. It's
There was,
just rock music.
There were two guys at one show, and after our set, the guy came up and he said, "I had to drag my friend over to the stage," and he goes, "Why?" He goes, "You need to hear this. This is a rock band. These guys are playing rock and roll. You don't hear that anywhere."
Yeah, I don't know how localized that is to our scene, but people do seem surprised here sometimes when they hear it.
Yep.
So it's kind of fun. We end up essentially sounding like what we want to sound like, rather than what we think somebody would want us to sound like. Or, I don't know if that's perfect marketing, but I think it's genuine.
What were your personal influences that got you into music in the first place?
Mm.
Alternative jazz for me. That really struck me at an early age.
I don't like alternative jazz. It doesn't meander enough. Looser structure than that.
I sort of like free form drum covers.
Okay.
No.
All right. So seriously, what?
Well,
Address the musical heritage of the band briefly, and then.
no, I want to do it.
Okay. Give me.
Well, I know you had your big. My dad, his big moment that he always talks about was he was in a music store and he wanted to buy his first album, and sitting there on the shelf was the soundtrack to Saturday Night Fever, and Kiss Alive 2.
That's right.
And in that moment, he made his choice.
I was about 16, and the two albums had come out pretty close to each other. I was in a Kmart. They were right next to each other. And I was in there with my friend, and I was looking back and forth, and I was like, how am I going to go here? How am I going to do this? And the local rock station back in Atlanta, where I grew up, had played one of the studio tracks off Kiss Alive 2, and it stuck in my head. And, of course, that was right at the peak of the disco thing.
Yeah.
And but in that moment, I chose a different path and bought the Kiss album and kind of became a rock fan from there on.
Yeah, so everything front and back of that really is his influence. And even like, earlier stuff, like obviously, the Beatles and Badfinger even.
Yeah.
Then those were growing up. We didn't, my brother and I, we never really got into like the pop music thing. So he would just throw a bunch of his CDs on the car stereo, and we would just listen to rock music in the car as we were going place to place. What they call now dad rock.
Great.
That's the most. But I mean, for us, that's
This
just
is
the music we grew up
It's
on.
genuine music appreciation. It is not brainwashing.
Yeah. Well.
But from Kiss, I made the leap from Kiss then to Van Halen, Cheap Trick, AC/DC, Rush, Ramones. And then as Connor was growing up, he kind of latched on to the Ramones and is probably one of the most knowledgeable Ramones people out there.
I suppose.
I think so. I mean, seriously, he can actually, the thing about the Ramones, and that is one of our influences a little bit, is
It's good we can give them a good shout out.
I know Johnny Ramone's guitar technique, which everybody kind of thinks is one thing and it's really not. Connor really laid into that and researched it, and he can actually do amazing Ramones covers, and they sound spot on.
Yeah, again, if we had the clones, he could form like a full tribute band.
So if we had a fill-in drummer just for a song or two here and there, I'd love to pull him out from behind the drums and put him on a guitar and let him play some
Is
Ramones.
Play Blitzkrieg Bop correctly.
Is Marky still alive?
Yeah.
We should get Marky in to be our fill-in drummer so you can play some Ramones.
Yeah, maybe.
We play Blitzkrieg Bop in our set, but only Connor can play it correctly.
I play it right.
You play your part right, and I do my parts about as best as I can manage, because it is
It's quite a thing.
Well, everybody thinks like, oh, he's just playing 3 power chords. That's the Ramones. It's like, no, that's not the Ramones.
Complex.
And you know that because a lot of more technical guitar players really look back to Johnny Ramone as an influence and somebody they look up to.
Well, I think Kirk Hammett from Metallica. I mean, he's a huge Johnny Ramone fan. I think Slash, Guns N' Roses, Road to Ruin by the Ramones. He's like, that's my favorite album. Learned to play guitar from that album. There's a lot of people that was. I mean, and then everybody knows like the punk bands like Green Day and stuff. They're all big Ramones fans.
Yeah.
Obviously.
And then that's inspired the next generation. But
Even like Pearl Jam.
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of places that you wouldn't expect it.
So I think for us, a lot of those bands that, Kiss, Ramones, Van Halen, they were influences on the next generation of bands. And then so those bands are also influences because, we like a lot of 90s metal, Metallica, Megadeth. So there's touches of that in there too. So you get sort of a classic rock vibe. It goes back to like Kiss and that sound, and you get a touch of metal in the guitar tone, and then some of the tempo and stuff in a few of the songs has a bit of a Ramones kind of punk feel to it.
Yeah.
So, and then of course Jet's a big Beatles fan, so
Yeah, and I'm pretty inspired by like elevator music and stuff like
yeah,
that.
you keep saying that.
That plays into my technique a lot.
Yeah, but I think there's some one of his bass influences, of course, is Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
And then
He does actually like elevator music though. Just that's why he keeps making that joke.
Yeah.
He
Well,
does actually enjoy weird elevator type music.
yeah, that's yeah.
But it's interesting too. A lot of times I hear bands, you would think that a band only listens to music that's like what they do, but a lot of people, they listen to things outside their performance genre.
Well, it makes it more fun when I get on stage and I can play some good hard rock music when I'm not listening to it all the time. But I mean, I still like, gosh, my music taste is just like the soundtrack to Megamind.
Really?
Have
Really?
you watched Megamind?
The Pixar movie.
It's a DreamWorks animated movie
DreamWorks, sorry.
about superheroes or whatever. But the soundtrack is all like Guns N' Roses and like
Oh,
AC/DC.
yeah. Yeah,
It's
you're
got this
right.
crazy hard rock soundtrack. For it. Awesome.
That's actually a great movie, really.
Yeah.
That's a clever movie.
I'll have to check that out.
If there's one thing that I want everyone to remember from this interview is that they should probably watch Megamind. Oh, God.
Pixar is in the mail.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. You'll get your check later, right?
Yeah. My 11-year-old DreamWorks movie. Next question.